Jamar says, was I the only one watching Hurts last night and thought that could have been Trey by the end of the season? Must be nice to have a head coach believe in you. I'm thinking is if I were a coach or another organization, I'd be looking at the Niners and thinking, they're ruining Trey, but he's only 23. Maybe I could get Trey for cheap. You know how Bill Walsh got Steve Young on the cheap after he got ruined by a couple of teams? That could be Trey. He could eventually develop down the line when he's older like Steve did, because the Niners are really setting him back, but he still has a great skill set and he's young.
And Al Davis got Jim Plunkett.
That's right.
And sat him, and he then won 2 Super Bowls.
That's right. I bet you teams are looking at the Niners and Trey Lance thinking, oh, here's a little interesting. We might be able to get Trey Lance on a discount in a few years. When he's still young, Jason says Trey Kyle should be traded next year. They don't mix. One or the two. If you could get Sean Payton, Dad, would you? If you were Kyle, if you were Jed York and you called Sean Payton and said, would you be interested in coaching this team next year? And he said yes. What would you do?
I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Heartbeat. Me too. It's really not even a discussion. I don't know if Sean Payton wants to coach the team. It is a good team though. Felix says, I know it's early, but how are you feeling about this game against the Broncos? I'll be there for the game and just hopefully don't get it.
Talk about that later.
Yeah, give us 5 minutes. We'll get there. That Niner guy says, my problem with Kyle is he head coaches like a play caller. He is hyper-focused on the moment, not the big picture. I agree with this.
Totally. I think that's a brilliant insight.
Yes, but I understand why he won't own up to it in public. I don't know, man. Trey needed this year. Yeah, like we're saying, Kyle, 2nd and 8, first quarter, ups 3. See the big picture. Why are you doing it? And from his perspective, it's a good play. It's as legitimate as any other play.
Good play.
It's a good play. I mean, I'm not allowed to call good plays. Now it's like, well, yeah, it's real life, dude. And you got to see the big picture because he just got hurt, and that's your quarterback.
And as a result, it wasn't a good play.
It wasn't a good play. It's not Madden. I mean, yeah, I'm with you on that. He doesn't see the big picture. But he has a lot of defenders. Matthew Brown says, what if we drafted Parson with Bosa and or Jay Chase? When the Niners traded up and I was saying they should take that tight end? Well, I was wrong about that. But there was this wide receiver who got drafted right after that who's like, what, Jerry Rice. Could have had that guy. But then you still have Jimmy. That's the problem. Trey never had a chance. DS Review says, I'm officially a Cohn fan and Niner quality control guy myself. You guys rock. Keep doing what you're doing. Props. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. David the Prankster said, did you see Rich Eisen back Kyle and mentioned you, Grant, about asking about the play? Yeah, a lot of people have been taking shots at me for asking about the play. And yeah.
Eisen criticized you for asking a journalistic question?
Yeah.
What would he have done? Kissed Kyle's ring?
Yes. Anytime Rich Eisen talks about Kyle Shanahan, he praises him and calls him the greatest coach of all time. I have to think that Eisen and Mike Shanahan are real close because he only praises that guy. The Shanahans have real strong ties in the media. Darth Mexican says, do you think Kyle ran Trey the way he did because he knew he had a backup plan? Would Kyle have been so careless with Trey if Jimmy wasn't there? It's a good question because last year, week 16, must-win game, Trey Lance started against Houston. Jimmy Garoppolo was injured, and they didn't play Trey Lance like this. He ran 8 times, which is a lot, but not 13, and they won, and he was throwing, and it looked good. That's why I thought the Niners were going to work this year because of that game. So
Iggy, I don't agree. I don't think he ran him because he knew he had Jimmy. I think he ran him because he's a shitty play caller.
Whew! There you go. Yeah, that's the thing. People say like, oh, Kyle had his reason to do something that wasn't. What is his genius reason? No, he's a bad play caller. He makes bad decisions. People say he's a great caller. No, he's a bad play caller. Good. He has a nice playbook.
He's a good designer, but he's not a good play caller.
Good playbook, good designer, good script, which his dad probably helps him with, all 3. But once it's time to call plays and see the big picture in the game, he's terrible, which is why he loses in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship. Terrible. Not a head coach, bad play caller. Team is carried by the defense. Gimmick offense that relies on the runs.
And there's a schism on the team.
Like, Kyle, you better win all I'm saying is Kyle better win the Super Bowl this year. If he doesn't win the Super Bowl this year and Sean Payton taps Jed on the shoulder and is like, hey, man, I'd love to coach this team. You're out. Thank you. And it's not firing Kyle. It's trading Kyle. Trading him for a couple of firsts. Because, we got to get those first-round picks back that you ruined when you got Trey Lance's ankle broken. So now we need those picks back. We're going to get them with you. Thanks. You just cost us 3 firsts, but we can get the first back by trading you and replacing you with Sean Payton, who's better than you. So that's good. But thanks, Kyle. You really helped us change the culture here. Can't wait. Abraham says, what happens if Kyle doesn't make the playoffs? Fired. No, traded. I'm currently printing up T-shirts that say trade Kyle Shanahan. I'm going to make this a thing. David the Prankster says donating
Don't do
again.
that.
Okay, I won't. Donate.
Don't do it.
David the Prankster said, I was kidding. David the Prankster says donating again just because of Lowell. You are amazing, sir, and I adore your stories from 49ers back during the dynasty.
Thank you so much.
David the Prankster. Sean Weaver says what can Kyle do if he can't call plays? Motivate. He's a motivator.
He's a motivator.
Matthew Sanders says, as per Kyle Shanahan, Lance get hurt, but still seeks Kyle's approval on the plays he did make. Kyle doesn't deserve Lance. He has better character than his head coach.
I tend to agree with that.
I do. I agree. Kyler V says there's no point in these press conferences if Kyle only answers questions from Brandon Marshall. Kyle's attitude showed he will never grow as a coach.
Who's Brandon Marshall?
Former player. He had him on his podcast, and Kyle, cracked, and it was just so starstruck that he was talking to an athlete. Second time a Brooklyn boy said Kyle's an OC. Mr. Blue Magic 23, who called into the Cohn phone this weekend from Brooklyn, had a great call. Well, he's from Brooklyn, but he lives in Jersey. I remember you. Hold on. Alan says, where's Lynch and Jed? I know Jerry Jones was all over TV when Dak went down. Yeah. Your quarterback just went down. Jed, you have nothing to say? John, you have nothing to say? Kind of strange.
Yeah.
Kind of strange.
Yeah.
Man. Hold on. We got DJ Saucy. My conspiracy theory, Kyle and John orchestrated a fake injury. Trey gets to dodge insane media scrutiny while getting another year to get up to speed. Kyle and John avoiding the backlash. Did you see his leg hanging like that?
No.
Do you also think Tupac is alive?
And Elvis.
Yeah, what are you talking about? His leg is mangled. Matthew Sanders says to wit, Jimmy is not beating last night's Buffalo Bills. No. If that's the Super Bowl and it's Jimmy against the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, they're going to lose just like they lost to the Chiefs. Isaiah Gill, new name, Sweetie Cohn. Okay, I can go by Sweetie from now on.
I call him Sweetie. I'm sorry. He's my son. I love him.
Jonathan Chavez says Kyle was careless with Trey. Kyle didn't care because in the back of his mind, he was saying, I have Jimmy who puts their investment in future in harm's way. I understand the theory. I get it. I get it, but we'll never know, I guess. I truly hope we missed the playoffs. Sorry, not sorry, says Seth Harvey. Hey, if you want a new head coach, I could see it. Can Jed pull off Sean Payton? I don't know. Maybe he can. Probably just pay him. He was born in San Mateo.
Really?
He was. He grew up in Chicago, though. D. Wood says, how is Trey supposed to feel, really? He's supposed to use it as motivation. It's a grown man league, and yes, it is football. Injuries happen. Next man up. Thank you for your compassion and your empathy. That was appreciated. Not a Niners fan, but I enjoy your content, says Nick. Thank you. Appreciate it. Remember when Jimmy said bye to the media? LOL, says Kyler.
Yeah.
That was kind of awkward.
Hey, you know what, Iggy? Oh, I'll come back to it later. I got another point, but I'm not ready for it yet.
Okay. Tua Lore says, Grant and Lowell, do you think Jimmy will ever get his first Pro Bowl appearance under his belt for play in this league for 9 long years? You think Jimmy will be a Pro Bowler, Dad?
Has he ever been?
No.
James,
no. Did you see did you say wrestler because he was on WWE yesterday? Yeah, I mean, he wants to be a wrestler. He wants to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he doesn't have the personality to pull it off yet. Gizmo says Justin Fields told Trey Lance publicly last week to stop taking hits. I've never seen Lance run for the sidelines or slide. How much is Trey's fault? Yeah, I mean, they should be coaching him to slide and get out of bounds and throw the ball away. They did that with Kaepernick, but you can't do any of those things when you're running between the tackles. No sliding when you run between the tackles.
No, you're a runner.
You're a runner at that point. So that's why I keep talking about that play call being terrible. Brian says, I've seen David Lombardi tweet that Seattle only had 2 quarterback pressure. Seems like a good game to let Trey get some more passing attempts. No, you're not. Kyle's much smarter than you. Sorry. You just wouldn't. He'd have to educate you, Brian. He'll come to your house and educate you. Canham HHI says, wake up. Jimmy can win a Super Bowl. D lost in 19 and versus Rams.
Yeah.
Well, if the defense shuts out every opponent, then he can definitely win a Super Bowl.
When Jimmy wins a Super Bowl, he'll win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Brendan Walsh says Jimmy is better than Trey. You think Kyle don't want to win? Trey can throw. Trey can't throw. You think he's going to be Mahomes? You're on drugs. 16 FCS games laughing. Okay, well.
I felt that was really an enlightened comment.
Yeah, that was great. But thank you for $5. I appreciate the donation. CT Law says, okay, it's clear we can't say anything about Jimmy positive to you guys, LOL. But when you say no one wanted Jimmy at 27 million, we agree. But several teams wanted him at 16 million. Kyle knows Jimmy gives him wins. Several teams wanted him at 16 million. Is there any proof of that?
I never heard that.
I never heard that. I didn't see any teams wanting him at $6 million. So I don't know. Niner by nature says, I wonder what Mama Lance and Papa Lance had to say.
Probably really angry.
Yep. Rodrigo says, if Jimmy gets injured early on in the season and we end up with a losing record, will we fire Kyle and replace him with a coach who supports Trey? Possible. I don't think you fire Kyle. I think you can trade him. I think that's what's so intriguing.
Trade him.
People like him. People think he's a genius. James Hennessy says, winning in the playoffs is hard. Why are we assuming you make the Super Bowl NFC Championship? It was fluky last year with snow at Green Bay. Yeah. And the Niners had no offense in the playoffs.
Iggy, I don't understand why we're talking about the playoffs.
Yeah.
They only played 2 games.
Yeah.
This is like wishful thinking.
Yeah, they may not make the playoffs.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see if Kyle can keep his next quarterback healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many games is Brock Purdy going to start this year? Ryan Hensley. What's up, Ryan? Host on the show says Tim Tebow rushed 12.31 times per start. Oh, my God. Trey Lance rushed 13 times per start. Kyle Shanahan ran Trey Lance more than Tim Tebow. Wow.
And Tim Tebow couldn't throw.
No. So that's
Ryan,
what
Ryan, I like your work.
Yeah, me too. So Kyle treated him like he's Tim Tebow. Why'd you draft him then? Why'd you draft him? To use him like Tim Tebow. Wow. I don't know, man. You know, Josh McDaniel got fired for drafting Tim Tebow. So, Kyle, you better win a ring. What ring? Says Zach805. Yeah, they don't have one. Black Orchid says, I love Lowell's wisdom. Thank you. Me too.
I wish I had wisdom.
Paul says, hello, fellas. Longtime fan of Goat Cohn and now a fan of Baby Goat Cohn. I really enjoy the insight and honestly look forward to the show every week. Thank you, Paul.
Hey, Baby Goat.
Baby Goat. James Hennessy said, we're almost caught up. You have to trade for Peyton, still under Saints. You have to trade for him? All right, trade Kyle. Straight up. Would the Saints want him?
Do the Saints still control him?
I guess. I don't know. I guess he retired, so maybe he was under contract.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Situational play calling is a term Kyle Shanahan doesn't comprehend. LOL.
I agree.
Correct. Matt Hudson says best place to get a copy of Gloves Off. Amazon.
Yeah, but it's been sold out. So you can get it used on Amazon or places like Alibris. You can get it.
Okay. 808 Niner says Lowell Kyle doesn't have a ring to kiss.
Touche.
Yeah. Mr. Tall says if you don't make the shirts, I will. Kyle, not as smart as we thought. Yeah, you make them, man. I got a conflict of interest over here. I'm covering the team.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah, Wesley Brooks says, I hate Trey got hurt. Jimmy got us. I am celebrating the win. Fair. That's fair. Celebrate the win. That's good.
Absolutely. You're entitled. You're a fan.
You're a fan. Sean O'Leary says, I say this as a former reporter. I wish Kyle Shanahan realized that when he speaks to reporters, he's speaking to the fans. And I wish more reporters realize they are there to ask those questions, not flattery and access. Thank you.
Sean. God, I love Sean. I love you. I love you.
I feel like too many reporters think they're there to build relationships with the people they're interviewing. No, you're there to represent the fans and ask the questions they want. And if one athlete or coach doesn't like it that day, well, that's just part of doing business.
Yeah.
You know, sorry, you're loyal to your readers, not the people not your subjects.
I'm with you. And you don't owe anything to the 49ers. You're not on salary from them.
No, they're not doing you a favor by letting you in there. Hey, Grant and Lowell, love the show. Pray for Lance, says Driz.
Thank you.
Thank you. Big Tone says, Lowell, you're a legend. I'm from Santa Rosa. Grant, Jimmy said it felt like 2017 again, just making plays. We don't usually do that around here. You alluded in 2018 about it was what Jimmy was referring to. Yeah, Jimmy took a little shot at Kyle after the game because this is Jimmy's team and he can say whatever he wants. He said it felt a little bit like 2017, just running around making plays, which would imply that Kyle micromanages Jimmy and tells him what to do, and Jimmy can't play free and easy.
And frustrates him,
which is probably true. But again, it just shows you like people seem to have an issue with Kyle on this team, his own players.
Clearly,
it's not his team. He wanted it to be his team. He made a decision. All the vets were like, not your team, bud, our team. David says, if it helps, I had a way more severe ankle injury, came back from it. Biggest thing would be not playing scared and not running between the tackles. Philip Wilson says, Jimmy G fans don't understand that as long as the likes of Mahomes, Josh Allen, Burrow, and Lamar exist, Jimmy will never be able to go blow for blow. Yeah, eventually you're going to have to beat those guys, and he can't. I mean, unless the running game is going for 200 yards. Tony says, Eric Branch reporting, a doctor says Trey Lance might be healed by the end of the season. What do you think? That would give the Niners life. Because, I mean, look, it's not that Trey Lance would come back and, like, take the job from Jimmy coming off an injury, but what if Jimmy gets hurt? Jimmy has to go a long way and play a long time for the Niners to win a Super Bowl. He often gets hurt. So maybe it would be great if Trey Lance could come back and play something. They just might win the Super Bowl that way. Unless you think Jimmy's going to go the whole.
Iggy, what a story that would be.
What a story that would be. And again, I keep mentioning that 1972 Dolphins team. I don't know why. It was 50 years ago. But Greasy broke his ankle. Week 5, came back in the playoffs, led him to the Super Bowl, and won. And in the Super Bowl, he completed 8 passes. Like, it wasn't about him. They had Larry Zonka and all these running backs. But maybe history could repeat itself 50 years later, because that's how the world works, apparently. Anyway, I wasn't alive back then. I was not alive in 1972, contrary to popular belief. Mike Martinez says, ask Kyle what's it going to take to throw the ball. He doesn't like doing that. Not his thing. Throwing. The Vermelia Sports Report says, Kyle, no, Vermeil, we really rally around Jimmy's speech. We will rally around Jimmy's speech. I don't know. Hold on. A couple more, and then we're back to our show. Isaac Garcia says, big fan Grant, tired of the Jimmy saga. It's more likely to get hurt. That's why we got Trey. Also love Lowell and his takes. Where can I get your book? Say it again, the place where you can get it?
Well, you can get it's sold out, but you can get used copies on Amazon or Alibris, Alibris, and I think they're pretty cheap.
Yeah. Omari's World says, hire Eric Bieniemy. Definitely interview him, see what he's got. Jared Combs says, can you name another quarterback hurt on a design run? I can name other quarterbacks who got hurt running up the middle. Patrick Mahomes injured his knee running between the tackles. It's not something you see very much in the NFL. David W. says, help Trey makes a full recovery, gets out of SF, and has a great career with a new team, which will take pride in naming him the starter. As for the coach, hope he gets his comeuppance this season. These are Niner fans. Yeah. Niner fans saying, I hope Trey goes somewhere else, and that I hope Kyle fails. That's wow. Mario Gonzalez says, sucks that we have so much talent, but do not have a coach that can use it.
Whoa.
Wow. Kyle,
are you watching this?
Are you watching this, Kyle? Don't bother me says, if a miracle happens and Jimmy wins the Super Bowl, do you think they try to franchise tag Jimmy and waste Trey another year? I don't know. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I appreciate the comment, but
I'm not.
Brandon says, people mad at Trey fans can stop. Fans are tired of having great teams with mediocre play from Jimmy Garoppolo. Make a Pro Bowl at least. Jimmy Garoppolo has a low ceiling. Yep, that's how people feel. Nick says Jimmy can't win a Super Bowl. The last few years have proved that. That's why they got Lance. This is a playoff team, but they have a ceiling. Yep. Hey, but look, if Jimmy Garoppolo all of a sudden starts hitting throws down the field, reassess everything. He tried. He came in and started throwing the ball down the field. He didn't really hit any of the throws, but if he starts hitting them, I'll take him seriously. Seriously, I will. But he didn't. J.R. Beckeld says, I was the biggest Jimmy fanboy until last year's playoff run. It's beyond me that we still have these many fanboys. Look at Jimmy's playoff stats. Well, hey, just keep the team afloat. If Trey Lance can come back, that would be quite amazing.
I think what a story that would be.
Yeah, what a story.
And then everybody in the media would say Trey Lance is a savior. You know what I mean? The whole narrative would shift.
It would be great. How many twists? Josh says players don't like Kyle because they don't want a stepdad that yells at them all the time.
I don't know. I wouldn't know if he yells at them all the time.
Yeah, I don't think he's a yeller. I think he's like a friend. He's empowered them to feel like they're equals with him. That Niner guy says Jimmy's contract has no tags on it. He will be a free agent in 2023. Yeah, they can't franchise tag him. Thank you. Good point. They cannot franchise tag him. He'll be a free agent. Great jawline and a better completion. I'm just saying, says Mr. Tall. And a better completion. I don't know what you mean. Percentage? Lowell, I think Kyle needs your hold Jet accountable talk.
It's on the internet.
Cliff Reese says, Lowell, we appreciate your wisdom and storytelling. You're a national treasure to the past Niners organization. Grant, keep up the great work. My dad is a national treasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senior Boat says, trade Kyle to the Patriots since they need an offensive coordinator. Oh. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. I love it.
He'd get along with Belichick just fine.
If he will listen to anyone, it would probably be Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Irfin says, Eric Branch just said that a surgeon said that Lance could be fully healed before the end of the regular season. If true, should he come back? I mean, he may have to.
It's a medical decision.
It's a medical decision. Also, you were just assuming that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be healthy the whole year. He may be a savior. Jason Lutz says, can we win without the QB power? It's a Kyle Shanahan staple. Is it? He didn't call quarterback power for Matt Ryan in Atlanta, and he did pretty good. Ethereal says, Grant, I'm sorry I have to mention this. Do you think Harbaugh would handle this situation better? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Harbaugh.
And I'll tell you why. Harbaugh is a strange guy. But Harbaugh is very bright. He's a serious person, and he's serious about football.
Yeah.
And he has the proper respect.
Yeah.
I think if he thought or heard that people on his coaching staff were talking behind his back, there'd be a palace revolution. He would find out who, and he would get them out of town.
You probably punch him in the face too.
Punch him in the face.
Punch him in the face too.
It
Yeah.
would never happen with him.
No, absolutely not. Roadhog 228 says 2017 let Jimmy cook. Yeah, let's see. Let's see how it looks if Jimmy Garoppolo is slinging the ball around the field.
Yeah, he's a cooker.
Yeah, he's a cooker. Niners should beat the Broncos because Mason should finally get touches. Can't wait to see Jordan Mason get his opportunity. That's exciting. Dark Halo says Jimmy gives Kyle wins. Name Jimmy's signature win. The win in New Orleans. That's his win. 48-46 over New Orleans 3 years ago. That was the best game he ever played. He was good in that game. Sentinel says, why did the fruit that comes from Kyle Shanahan coaching tree have more success than the tree it came from? McVay won a ring. Rookie McDaniels beat Belichick. LaFleur has gone to the NFC Championship game, etc. That's interesting. That, his underling McDaniels looking real good in Miami right now, Dad. Have you noticed that? Have you seen that? Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Looking real good. So, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
His underling's looking better than he is.
I think there might be some theories that, Kyle has his dad, he's got this last name, but he has these very talented friends around him that got the opportunity because Kyle was already in the league. And maybe those guys were, I don't know. Mac McDaniel seems very smart.
Where'd you get the word underling from?
Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
And you know who's got a lot of Mark Jackson in him? Kyle Shanahan. You know why? Never won shit. Never won shit. And so a lot of people talk about Kyle Shanahan in the Bay like he's Steve Kerr or something. No. Steve Kerr is a champion.
Steve Kerr has won 4 times, right?
4 times.
Yeah. And
Kyle's won 0 times.
I'll tell you something else. Steve Kerr is a lot better with the media than Kyle is.
That's true. That's true.
And you never hear anyone on Steve's staff bad-mouthing Kyle off the record. I mean, bad-mouthing Steve off the record.
No.
I'm sorry.
There's no comparison, and yet Kyle gets that kind of respect from the media, and it's like, why? Why? Yeah. He's Mark Jackson. He's not Steve Kerr.
Did you say Eisen considers him a great coach?
Yeah. Yeah.
Based on all of his Super Bowl wins.
Well, it's that Rich Eisen is just such an astute eye for football. He watches the tape, and he can see things that other people don't see.
I got it.
That's how Rich does it. Dilly G says, question for Lowell. Did you notice any change of energy from the team when Jimmy stepped on the field? If so, what do you think this says about the team?
I did notice it. They seemed uplifted when he came on. It means they believe in him. I believe that belief is flawed. It's wrong. I think they should have had the same dedication to Trey Lance. And the fact that they didn't is disgusting.
And again, to your point earlier, it's not just a condemnation. It's not a condemnation of Trey. It's a condemnation of Kyle. That's his guy. He's the head coach.
When McGlinchey and Williams don't help up Trey Lance when he's down, that's in the face of the coach.
Right.
So we're not going to pick up your guy.
No.
If Jimmy goes down, they'll help him up.
And again, Kyle has this record where on the Niners, he's won like 8-something games without Jimmy Garoppolo. He has not established that he is the winning ingredient on his own team. And I think that's a big freaking problem. For whatever reason, Jimmy's the guy with the winning record, not Kyle. And so he can't get past that. He can't get his own locker room in line.
You see, if you talk to him, he'll educate you on why that statement is wrong.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Anthony Adams says, it's bad when Danny Gray yells at you. Did that happen?
Did he yell at you, Iggy?
He yelled at me. Professor Lawless says, I bet you and your dad that Jimmy G will be on the roster next year also and starting. I would like that bottle of wine bet, $100 limit. I'm broke. Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy John Lynch. Obviously, Jimmy as the second coming of Tom Brady, LOL. I only make bets with my dad, but I appreciate you. I don't want to do that bet. That's too much. It's too far. I'm not doing it. You called me out, though. I appreciate it. D. Wood says, come on. The team also watched the offseason and seen what Jimmy Garoppolo went through supporting their brother. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, we stopped. Poor Sermon. He was inactive yesterday. Sermon? Sorry. T7 says, drafting trade divided the team. Restructuring Jimmy Garoppolo's contract divided the team even more. Juice stated we're back to Niners football when asked about Jimmy Garoppolo. I didn't like that comment that Juszczyk had. We're back to Niners football. What the hell does that mean?
Did he actually say that?
He said that. What the hell does that mean?
Well, I mean, again, he said it on the record then, that in a way he's pleased that the other guy didn't get hurt, but that he's not there.
Right.
I thought this Juice was a good guy.
What is Niners football? Losing in the NFC Championship game?
Good point.
What the hell
Yeah,
is Niners football? Like having no offense in the playoffs? What?
you don't
Niners
want to be
football
back.
is whatever it takes to win a Super Bowl. At least that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, and Niners football ostensibly is what Kyle Shanahan says it is, not
Thank
what
you.
Kyle Juszczyk says it is.
That's the point. It's not what these vets on the team say it is. You guys aren't even going to be here for that long. It's what Kyle says. And if Kyle has a problem, you need to get these vets off the team. I don't know who they are, but if you don't have control of your locker room, take control, man. It's your team. It's your team, Kyle. Do something about it. Man, I don't know. What would Jim Harbaugh say to Kyle? What would his advice be to Kyle in this situation? Take control.
I think he'd laugh in his face.
I think he would. Anthony Adams says, no, Danny Gray yelled at Jimmy Garoppolo for missing him deep. Oh, well, yeah.
He'll be yelling a lot more.
Yeah, he will. Christy says, come on, guys. Jimmy is our only option right now. We got to cheer him on. Praying Trey is the biggest comeback in the NFL. Love y'all. Yeah, I'm not rooting against Jimmy.
No, but I'm not cheering him on. I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan. No, that's a good point. Josh says, max trade for Hoyer now. Brian Hoyer, got to get him. Big Cohn got them bands like Lance. Not quite like Lance. He's got a little bit more money than me. All right. Well,
did we do it?
We got to find an opportunity to drink this. I've had this for a month now. We got to drink this soon.
Okay. I could break my diet one time.
All right. David the Prankster says Juice shouldn't talk. Only player that doesn't play fullback on the team. They have the highest paid fullback, and they get their quarterback to play the position. Axel Ruiz says, I hope Trey Lance asks for a trade after he gets better. He's been disrespected when he was getting carted off. Only a few players went to check on him. I couldn't. I look like a lot of players went to check on him. It's tough. I don't know. The Goose says, how will you feel about the team Super Bowl odds if Mason shows to be better than Mitchell?
We have to find out.
We'll have to find out. And again, I think it's about the downfield element in the passing game. I think you need it to win a Super Bowl. I think you do. You don't have to do it a lot. You have to be able to do it at some point. You can't have defenses just squatting at the first down chains the whole game. If Jimmy does good, can we use him for picks? No. No. He's a free agent next year, and they need him to play now. No trading Jimmy anymore.